Hi and welcome back to the Poker Stars EPT. We're here with Vanessa Selbst. Hi Vanessa, how are you today?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm not bad, thank you for asking. I want to start off saying congratulations on your recent engagement. It's been quite big news throughout the poker world. How are you feeling about such large amount of attention on your own personal life?
I don't know. It feels kind of weird, I guess. I didn't really, it's funny because I did the proposal down in PCA, but it was like before PCA started. There was no tournament player, there was no players down there, and I wasn't playing any poker, and I didn't really realize what effect that would have in terms of having it be so public. But it's cool. I mean, everyone's been like super enthusiastic about it, which is like a really good feeling.
Well, obviously it did help you with some run good. I mean, you did win that roller. So.
Well, that was the other reason I did it, obviously, was to get some run good. So, it worked out pretty well. It was a good move.
I mean, poker is quite an unusual career. I mean, you started off poker when you were doing your master's degree, is that correct?
I was doing undergrad.
Undergrad?
Yeah.
So I take it poker wasn't a high school careers option. How did you get into the game?
Yeah, so I just was playing a home game in college and just found people that were super interested in poker and kind of learned about online poker forums, started discussing strategy with everybody and found out about online poker, started playing on Poker Stars, other sites, just playing as much as I could, soaking up as much information as I could and just playing all the time. I was also taking frequent trips to Foxwoods instead of going to class, so I just kind of found it and just fell in love with the game and just never stopped since then, basically.
I mean, you actually went back to college to do a law degree. How did still play? I know you took some time off from playing, but how did that work for you? I mean, it seems obviously two quite high stressful things going on at the same time.
Yeah, well, I quit pretty much cold turkey actually when I went to law school. For the first 2 years, I barely played any poker at all, other than the occasional tournament during the World Series or during a school break. So, it wasn't like I was doing the two concurrently until the final year, which was not ideal. But, you just make it work. Honestly, it's two huge passions of mine, and I don't think that I would be happy if I were lacking in either one. So it's just kind of when you want to do something, you just get it done. And obviously there's sacrifices that I made. I wasn't able to play all the tournaments that I wanted. I wasn't able to go to every class, but, you just make it work.
I mean, you call it two passions of yours. I mean, you say, I've read about you wanted to work in civil rights. Is there anything in particular on the civil rights front that you feel is important in the States at the moment? For example, I mean, the Supreme Court's looking at the Voter Rights Act. Is that something that you'd be interested in yourself, or is it more generally that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just it's so hard when I get asked this question to pinpoint issues, just because it's just there's just so many things that are difficult right now. I mean, there's a lot of I had been working on sort of racial justice, and then whenever you bring up racial justice, I think about economic inequality, and whenever I think about economic inequality, I'm thinking about corruption, and I'm thinking about corruption in politics, and I'm thinking about money in politics, and I mean, it's just, I don't know, sort of a frustrating time right now, because every time there's a new issue, it's kind of well, how do you solve this before you solve this, and this other thing, and it's hard to stop it from feeling futile at times, but you kind of just, I think the answer is if everybody kind of did something to make a difference, I think hopefully it would turn around, or maybe just be a full-scale revolution, which might be necessary. So I would kind of support that too, I think.
Would you be getting involved in US politics, or you just want to stay purely on the legal side?
No, I mean, at the political system as it currently exists, I don't think that I would be involved in it. But I don't know if it would be legal or just other kinds of activism or whatever it is, but I mean, just doing something, I mean, I'm not really sure.
I mean, coming back to poker, obviously, we are a poker website. You and Liv have had this comment about never being a man at a poker table when you get asked the same questions about being a woman playing poker.
Yeah.
How did that come around? Was it a conversation you guys were having away from the table?
What comment is this?
Or Liv went on EPT Live a couple of months ago mentioning about, I've never been a man at a poker table, so I don't know the difference. And she attributed that to you.
Oh.
Was it something you guys have come up with before? Or?
No, I don't think so. I didn't. That's funny that Liv said that. That's cool. I mean, it's just funny because it's these questions about what what's it like to be a woman? And you're just like, what's it like to not be? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, there's just so many questions around gender in poker that are, like, kind of weird, and it's like, it's all just, like, human experience. Like, what's it like being... The only thing I know what it's like is, like, being, like, Vanessa Selbst, who is, like, a, you know, former, like, law school, like, lesbian, poker player, Brooklyn, bred, Jew, whatever. You know, whatever these parts of my identity are, that's the only experience that I have as a poker player. So I think everybody is coming from, like, a different place. And, you know, you can imagine that these things probably influence how you are as a poker player as well as how you are as a person.
You're actually considered by quite a lot of us in poker to be the cutting edge with your videos and your coaching work.
Thank you.
We all look up to you and how you view it. And I'd be quite interested to see, where do you see poker in the next 5 years? More on the technical side. I mean, do you see the aggression getting more and more powerful?
I think it goes in waves, honestly. I mean, it's funny because, like, I used to be sort of like the most aggressive player, and now it's like I go to an EPT and it's like I flat pre-flop, and all these people are just like, oh my god, call, what is that? You know, they're like 3-betting, 4-betting, 5-betting, but like hands that I think should be flatted. So it's like I'm more passive pre-flop than a lot of people, and kind of will flip and go around, and I think it just goes in waves. I mean, there's a certain point where you can't actually get any more aggressive. You only have 40 big blinds to work with when you're in a tournament. You can't, you know, 9-betting can't be a trend. So at some point, I think it just sort of turns around and flips on its head. And, you know, obviously you adjust to your dynamics in poker. And so if you're at a really aggressive table, if everybody's being too aggressive at a certain point, you probably see there's probably a space to move into by being very passive or by being very tight. That is really profitable until, once again, everybody turns really tight, and then becoming really aggressive is profitable. So it's just about adjusting to your competition, and I think that goes in waves, and I think what tends to happen is the people that are at the forefront, the best players in the game, are constantly ahead and constantly adjusting, and so it's not that maybe one person is the most aggressive. I think I was one of the most aggressive players in the period of time in poker in which it was the most profitable to be the most aggressive. That doesn't mean that right now or in a year or two from now I will be the most aggressive player still. I think it's just a matter of adjusting.
I mean, how do you look at your strategy? Do you work on your own, or do you work with other people? Or
you know, I do talk to other players about hands. I have a few players that I really respect that we talk more about theory on a regular basis, but I also do a lot of thinking away from the table. I don't know, I'm just like very kind of ethereal. I just always have been from being in academia and everything. And so, you know, when I'm taking time off of poker, I'll have like an epiphany about some way to balance my strategy better, or some way to exploit some other thing better or whatever. So I do a lot of thinking on my own, but I'm also talking to friends a lot too.
I mean, how would you consider the best way for someone wanting to take that next step from the lower levels to playing a higher level of poker?
You know, I think this is the issue, is that a lot of it's just a different generation right now, and I don't know whether it's a question of unlearning stuff that's learned or just really making a focus on learning theory, but there are so many players that play now, like mid-stakes regulars online, and they didn't learn by thinking about the game and figuring it out. They learned by watching videos and repeating, and when I was learning poker, there were no videos. You learned because you had strategy discussions, you played tons of hands, you figured out what worked, you were creative. God knows, like, I've been too creative, you know, in my career. And so the problem, I think, is that so many players just learn what the right play is, but they don't learn why. And so when it comes time to adjust, they're not able to. And so it's really just a question of just thinking about the why every single time. It's questioning, why am I making this play? I mean, it's as simple as, like, an opening raise size to, like, a check raise on the river, whatever it is. I mean, it's a question of constantly asking yourself, why did I make that play? And not just revisiting plays when they didn't work, but maybe what could have worked better, is asking that question consistently as well. So many players look at their bust out, okay, I got unlucky, I got 5th place in this tournament at the final table. You know, I rejammed 22 bigs with ace queen and got called by ace jack and lost, and it's like, okay, but what about that pot that you played that you 3-bet and got 4-bet and then you didn't jam even though it was correct too, and then you lost 8 big blinds? Yeah. Whatever it is, you know, it's like constantly thinking about every single decision. What could you do to put yourself in a better situation? What control do you have over your kind of poker fate, I guess?
I mean, as I said, we do think you are at the cutting edge of what I personally do anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that's going to bring a lot of our players and give them some better ideas. A lot of people do learn by rote, and hopefully this will help bring people a bit more analytical about their play.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Yeah, well, I have to say that. You played the EPT Day 1A yesterday. How did that end up for you?
I'm about average chips, which someone told me was good, but I don't think so. I actually had a really good day until the last level. I just kind of bluffed it off as usual, and so just down to about average, but that's fine.
Were there any particular spots that you regret very badly?
It's like I don't regret it. It's like I made the correct bluff, like from a game theory perspective, but I just like as I put the chips in, knew it was never gonna work, just because like they're never gonna to me. So why would they believe me? It's like I always just like make the bluff that I think is correct. Like in a high roller, I think my bluff would have worked every time, but so it goes.
Well, we'll cut it there. Thank you very much for your time, Vanessa, and I hope you run well in tomorrow's day too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.